Good evening. A confrontation between an airman and military police turned deadly. Earlier this year, those officers the airman after a chase, and now we're getting a first look at what Albuquerque police saw after those gunshots rang out. News 13's Bella Olage has details.
The late-night chase ended just down the street from this base entrance here on Gibson back in February. APD says things escalated when the suspect and military police exchanged gunfire, resulting in the death of 28-year-old Brian Teal Scott.
Why are you chasing? Because we were going to detain him. He's military.
Police arrived to a chaotic scene February 22nd at around 2 a.m.
That sun right there is all gas.
Albuquerque police officers found a man later identified as Airman Brian Teal Scott, dead in a driveway of an apartment complex near the Truman Gate of Kirtland Air Force Base. They saw shattered car windows and bloodstains, and officers started evacuating nearby buildings because bullets had caused a gas leak. Several officers moved Teal Scott's body away from the gas leak to check out his wounds. Military personnel and people working in nearby businesses recounted what led up to the shootout.
These guys ended up saying that this male adult, this DNA, pulled up into their gate, and he is a military man. He does have credentials, and that something went wrong.
We heard the gunshots, and we were just taking an order.
My understanding is you're the actual shooter, correct?
We all shot, sir. But
what's that?
We all shot.
Okay. Who's we all?
Everyone that's in uniform, like everyone.
APD says it started when Kirtland security forces noticed Teal Scott's vehicle registration had expired. That prompted the military officers to search his car at the Truman Gate.
Well, he was already getting agitated and mad that he had to wait there. So I guess when they were doing an inventory check before they found his vehicle, they found the marijuana.
When they told Teal Scott he would be detained,
and that's whenever he took off from his buddy's vehicle, they came to pick him up, and they ended up following him over here.
7 military police officers chased after Teal Scott on foot.
And the guy I spoke with said that he saw him racket, and he's like, I'm not going to jail for this and that. And
what's up,
he fired first.
APD says Teal Scott shot at the officers, and one was hit and wounded. Then officers returned fire and killed Teal Scott. Kirtland Air Force Base reiterated today that they recognize the public's concern about this shooting. They say they, quote, urge the community to avoid drawing conclusions based on preliminary accounts.
Much love to everyone standing for truth, justice, and accountability. Here we are once again facing another heartbreaking situation. Another life taken. Another black man whose existence was treated like a threat instead of a human being. This time, the victim is 28-year-old Brian Teal Scott, an airman who served this country, yet received no respect, no compassion, and no chance at survival. What should have been a routine situation turned into a deadly encounter, and the more we look into what happened, the clearer it becomes that the response was excessive, aggressive, and fueled by something far beyond protocol. When we analyze the statements, the scene, and the behavior of those involved, it leaves us with questions that demand answers. Why so many shots? Why chase him off base into public space? Why the inconsistencies in testimonies? And why does it always seem that when the suspect looks like him, deadly force becomes the first and only option? His family is left grieving, his community is left outraged, and once again we're left looking at a system that claims to protect but repeatedly destroys. There's video, there's evidence, there are witness accounts, yet the silence from authorities is louder than any statement they've released. This wasn't just a mistake. This looks like a coordinated effort to justify a killing rather than prevent one. We're going to break this down piece by piece, and as we move forward, pay close attention. Watch their reactions, their body language, and how their stories shift. Because now we're going to roll the footage and let the evidence speak. Watch closely.
Force Base in February raised questions about why military police killed one of their own airmen. Now, newly released documents are shedding light on what led up to that shooting. News 13's Jessica Baron spoke with that airman's family's attorney to explain.
He panicked and he ran onto public property, and we know they chased him down, and they hung him down like an animal.
After a shooting left an airman dead, his family's attorney says they're seeking justice. 28-year-old Brian Teal Scott was shot outside the Kirtland Air Force Base Truman Gate in February, when a confrontation escalated into a chase and then a shooting. Albuquerque police were not involved in the shooting, but responded to the scene afterwards. According to their reports, Teal Scott was trying to enter the base when security forces realized his car's registration was expired. Security forces began searching the car and found a bag of marijuana in the trunk under a spare tire. When they told Scott he was going to be detained, the police report says he ran away with 7 military police officers in pursuit. The attorney for Teal Scott's family says surveillance video shows he tried to surrender.
We know that he reached a Taco Bell and he was cornered. We know he shouted out for help. We know he wanted to turn himself over to the Albuquerque Police Department. We know he surrendered.
But APD's report says that's when things escalated and Teal Scott fired a gun at the military police and they returned fire, shooting Teal Scott. The family's attorney saying those officers fired over 30 rounds with some bullets hitting a nearby apartment complex.
At the very least, they should have took Brown into custody. He was looking to surrender. That's all. They should have let him walk out and they should have brought him into custody.
The attorney says they're planning civil action, adding they have not heard directly from Kirtland Air Force Base or received an apology. They say they want justice and for the officers involved to be court-martialed.
For them not to be able to make a decision in, 7 months is very disappointing and disturbing. I mean, this is our military and we put our belief in the military.
Jessica Barron, KRQE News 13.
In a statement, Kirtland Air Force Base says they recognize the public concern surrounding the events, and they say this incident is still under investigation, adding that they urge the community to avoid drawing.
That someone is shot in the back. How are they chased in public property? How are they shot so many times? And there's no explanation. We're not going to stand for acts like this. Brian Teal Scott was in the Air Force, stationed out in Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He was coming back from a social event, coming onto the base. He had a run-in with some MP officers. They wanted to search his car for potential marijuana. He got nervous. He got concerned. He ran off the base into public property. And for whatever reason, these officers chased him down. They've shot over 30 rounds, shot him in the back. And they just want to scrub it and wash it away like it never happened. We're not going to stand for it. And I think this is an opportunity for myself and the lawyers in this firm to go after the military head on. And we're now setting up camp out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we're going to do that. And we welcome the challenge and we're going to be successful.
All right, now you just heard the attorney speak on this case again, and the more we learn, the more disturbing it becomes because we're talking about a situation where over 30 rounds were fired, and they shot so recklessly that one of their own officers was hit in the process, which shows not control, not restraint, not professionalism, but panic, aggression, and a complete disregard for life. And when you look at the evidence, the shell casings, the bullet holes, the wounded officer, the conflicting statements, it becomes impossible to ignore the pattern because the story keeps shifting from "he fired first" to "we heard a click" to "he brandished a weapon." And that kind of inconsistency is always a red flag, especially when the result is a dead black man who can no longer speak for himself. And now it's up to the evidence, the footage, the documents, and the people who refuse to stay silent to tell the truth that those responsible are trying to bury, because once again, instead of accountability, they tried to regroup, discuss stories, and separate themselves from civilian authorities as if they already knew this wasn't clean or justified. And the saddest part is, this man served alongside these people. He wore the same uniform. And yet in his final moments, he wasn't treated as a comrade or a human being, but as an enemy target, expendable, replaceable, disposable. And that's why cases like this matter, because they expose the reality that even when you serve this country, even when you follow the system, even when you try to do everything right, you can still be hunted down, executed, and left without justice simply because of who you are and what you look like. So now the pressure continues. The questions get louder, and the excuses crumble, and we will not look away. Because this family deserves answers, this community deserves transparency, and this case deserves the full weight of truth. So stay locked in because we are not finished, and there's more to break down, more evidence to review, and more contradictions to expose as this investigation unfolds. Before we wrap this up, I need to ask you something. What do you think really happened here? Was this justice, negligence, or another avoidable tragedy that could have been handled differently? Do you believe accountability will ever be served in cases like this? Or will this one be swept away like so many others? Should officers involved in shootings face the same legal consequences as civilians? Or do you think the system protects them too much? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because your voice matters and conversations like this are how truth becomes impossible to ignore. If you found this story eye-opening, disturbing, or simply important to talk about, don't just scroll away. Tap subscribe and join us here at the Untold Crime Chronicle, where we break down the stories others overlook. Turn on your notifications so you never miss the next chapter, the next case, or the next uncomfortable truth. Until then, stay aware, stay safe, and stay questioning, because silence protects power, but truth protects people.